Tonight on Chat News at 5, making campus a safe place. 9 Alberta post-secondary institutions, including Medicine Hat College, are enhancing their COVID safety measures. And beyond an election issue, local candidates are criticizing the number of closed-door meetings being held by the city of Medicine Hat.
Plus, in sports, the Brooks Bandits close out their preseason with their first game of the 2021-22 season on the horizon.
From Medicine Hat, this is the Chat Evening News with Dan Reynish.
We're working our asses off to protect these idiots.
A little more than a year after pots and pans were clattering together on a nightly basis to honor Canadian healthcare workers amid the fight against COVID-19, throngs of anti-vaxxers spent today protesting at hospitals across Canada. At today's protest in Edmonton, nurse Rebecca Riches spoke out to reporters. She works on a COVID ward at the Royal Alexandra, and an organizer of the rally tried to contradict what she sees daily at work. We'll have more on the cross-Canada protests in just a few minutes here on Chat News at 5. Good evening and welcome. The protest happened as COVID case numbers continue to rise in Alberta. There is now a new record amount of people in intensive care wards across our province, and Alberta averaged 1,580 new COVID-19 cases per day since Friday. 18 more Albertans have also now died from COVID-19. In Medicine Hat, there were 3 COVID-related deaths over the weekend. Right now, we have 599 active cases in Medicine Hat. There are 33 inpatients at Medicine Hat Regional Hospital with 8 in the ICU. There are 4,740 new cases in the province since the last update on Friday, and 2,340 more variant of concern cases have been identified. 803 Albertans are in hospital with COVID-19, 198 in the ICUs. The 198 in ICU is a record high number for Alberta. The 803 people in hospital is the highest number in our province since January 8th. Alberta completed 40,088 tests since the last update on Friday. The positivity rate is about 11.8%. All the latest numbers can be found online. Just head to our website at chatnewstoday.ca. With the rising numbers, Medicine Hat College will soon require all students and staff to be fully vaccinated. The college is one of 9 post-secondary institutions to announce the enhanced public health safety measures today.
Ever since we started in this pandemic, the health and safety of our students and faculty and staff have been our top priority. And we understand that vaccines are the #1 way to reduce the spread of COVID. So we felt it was time to do it.
Medicine Hat College President Kevin Shufflebotham says this has been a discussion for months. He says the intent is to have a fully vaccinated community on campus by January 2022. The college will spend the rest of the year in a transition period, but come the new year, rapid testing will no longer be accepted. Family doctor Nicole Warner fully supports the college's decisions.
The vaccine is safe. And I would believe that it's the best way that we can help prevent the spread of COVID-19 cases.
For students who don't want to be vaccinated, the college will still offer classes online. According to the Health Sciences Association, Medicine Hat was one of 4 cities with 0 ambulances available for an extended period of time during the September long weekend. The other cities that had a shortage were Calgary, Edmonton, and Red Deer. There was another code red when no ambulances are available over an unknown amount of time yesterday here in Medicine Hat. The union says the pandemic and the opioid crisis, along with the lack of hiring, has combined to create a shortage of pandemics. But in a statement emailed to Chat News, the province says all types of ambulance calls have increased as people return to regular levels of activity. Health officials also say the most critical patients will receive priority care and that anyone who needs EMS care will get it, but the union responds there's too much strain on the system right now.
Every day, units get sucked into the cities of Calgary and Edmonton because they don't have enough units, leaving all of our outlying communities with no paramedic services available. Dial 911. We'll find some way to get to you. But in the meantime, what I need people to understand is there's none left. So they've got to somehow clear up a crew, get a crew off another call, cancel a lower priority call, whatever it's going to do to get someone coming to you. We should never be in this situation. There should always be available paramedics to respond to your 911 call.
Officials with Alberta Health Services say 100 paramedic jobs are being filled across the province. Well, it was a really nice, not quite summer, not yet fall day here in Medicine Hat. 19 is what we aimed for. 20 was, 20 is what we were aiming for. That's seasonal average right now. 20 is what we settled for. The wind not too strong, still not bad out there from the west at 13 kilometers an hour. It is still 19 degrees out there. Not a bad day whatsoever, and this is a beautiful view of our area. The full AccuWeather forecast coming up in just a few minutes here on Chat News at 5. Coming up, a date has been set for Hatters to say their final farewell to the arena. A number of new municipal election candidates in Medicine Hat are taking aim at the current sitting government. With the details, here's Tiffany Goodwin.
Transparency has been a commonly used word amongst municipal election candidates this summer.
It's the buzzword, right? It's the buzzword for the election 2021.
Transparency refers to how open the government has been to conveying information to the public. It's been so talked about, many running in the election have it as their main platform. And newcomer candidate Marco Jansen went so far as to post this video on social media.
There's nothing wrong with the video. That actually is a black square in front of my face, because I'm talking again about transparency, or really the lack of it.
Jansen is just one of a few new candidates that have been criticizing the number of closed-door meetings held by the city.
They have held 49 meetings, 39 were behind closed doors. That's 80%.
Mayoral candidate Lindsay Clark has also been critical of the number of closed-door meetings at the city, posting this on social media.
We need to have more meetings in open, and if we're going to move a meeting into closed, there needs to be a clear reason why.
At last week's council meeting, Mayor Ted Clugston defended the number of closed-door meetings and said there's a reason why items can't be made public.
This comes up every campaign, and then you won't hear about it again for 4 years. You know, we do human resources, you know, land and real estate behind closed doors, because, well, first of all, you don't want to talk about who you're firing or hiring in public, and when you're doing a real estate deal, you don't want to show you what price you're willing to pay or what you're willing to sell it for. And so that's been going on, and that's a standard. But everything the municipality does ends up here. Every time we spend $1, it ends up here.
But Jansen said the issue of transparency goes beyond just an election issue.
If it was just election speak, why would the citizens of Medicine Hat be so up in arms about it? Again, you know, it's almost like it's over-talked about now because so many people are talking about transparency.
Jansen, along with a few other candidates, have promised not to support closed-door meetings unless absolutely necessary, so the public can engage and have access to more information.
It's time for that kind of secrecy to end. Kind of just like it's time for me to get rid of this square. That's better.
Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
Residents in Medicine Hat will have plenty of options when voting for councillor candidates in next month's municipal election. In Redcliffe, voters won't have the same luxury. In Medicine Hat, there are 32 council candidates registered, running for 8 positions. In Redcliffe, there are currently 6 candidates for 6 council seats. If no one else registers before the deadline 1 week from now, those 6 will be acclaimed. Redcliffe Municipal Manager Phyllis Forsyth says the lack of options is not a concern for the town or among residents she's heard from. She also says she's heard that more people will be filing papers to run.
It's par for the course. We've had historically people submit nomination papers up in the last 10 minutes, so there's still a week. This is the first time that the province has allowed this long of a nomination period. So nominations don't close until September 20th at noon, And so there's still lots of time for any individuals that are interested in running for council.
There are 4 people running to be mayor of Redcliffe. Election day is October 18th. There are 6 names on the ballot in the Medicine Hat, Cardston, Warner riding. However, only 3 of those federal candidates are actively campaigning in Medicine Hat for your vote right now. Tiffany Goodwin has more.
With the federal election a week away, local candidates have been busy on the campaign trail.
It's busy. I mean, we're running on all cylinders right now, but it's going really well.
And despite the pandemic, some of the public has been taking note.
I have lost a lot of interest in politics federally and provincially over the last couple of years, but slowly the news is starting to be more interesting.
Conservative candidate Glenn Mott says overwhelmingly he is hearing a dissatisfaction with our current Prime Minister.
Canadians are tired of it. They're tired of the facade. They see through the facade of this Liberal government, and they are demanding change.
When it comes to key issues for some voters in the city, fairness to Western provinces is one of them.
Things haven't been going our way for some time, so yeah, I think it's time for change.
The Maverick Party hopes to take advantage of some of those votes. Jeff Shoesmith is the local candidate, and he says support for Western interests is what drew him to the party.
Just feeling abandoned by the Conservative Party of Canada. I lifelong Conservative voter. And with the leadership and basically Aaron O'Toole rolling on everything from the carbon tax to resource corridors, everything that's meaningful to Western Canada.
The Medicine Hat, Cardston, Warner riding has been known to have a Conservative Party stronghold. There's no local candidate for the Liberal Party or NDP, but Conservative Party candidate Glenn Mott doesn't exactly think he's a shoo-in just yet.
We work like we're in last place. We approach everything like we're in last place, and we're working hard to earn the trust of the constituents.
But with 2 other parties that also carry conservative values, there is a concern about vote splitting. But some local candidates aren't entirely concerned.
Mr. Motz has won the last 2 elections with 79.4 and 79.6% of the vote. There is no chance for a Liberal or NDP or a Green Party to come up through the middle. It will be a Conservative voice.
And who that will be determined on Election Day come September 20th. Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
We're in the last few hours ahead of the federal election. If you wanted to cast your vote in advance, the polls are open until 9 o'clock tonight. Early numbers from Elections Canada indicate more than 1.3 million voters cast their ballot in person on the first day of the advance polls on Friday. Anyone casting an early ballot needs to bring a piece of ID and a voter card. If you don't have one, head to elections.ca for all of the information. If you plan to vote by mail, the deadline to apply is tomorrow. Here's what some people who were voting early this afternoon in Medicine Hat had to say about beating the election day crowds.
I just wanted to be sure that I did.
I work out of town.
Get it out of the way, I guess. I just wanted to sort of hopefully avoid the rush. But I wanted to vote, so it's good.
Medicine Hat police are serving notice to local bike thieves. A program to crack down on the problem is showing results. 4 people have been arrested as part of the Bait Bike Project, which is aimed at keeping bikes like these from ending up in the city compounds. Officers recently placed bait bikes in locations known as current hotspots for theft. The bicycles are set up with technology, allowing police to track their movement. The suspects were all quickly arrested and charged with theft under $5,000 for theft of one of the City of Medicine Hat's bait bicycles.
They were all in between the ages of 30 to 50, and 2 of them were already charged on previous conditions or previous crimes, and they breached their release conditions with these bike thefts.
Police say bike theft continues to be a problem in Medicine Hat, and they have tips on how you can keep your bike from being stolen. You'll want to invest in a good lock, such as a U-lock. As well, secure your bike in a well-lit, well-traveled area. And if it's possible, place your bike inside during the overnight period. Plus, register your bike serial number with the link you'll find at chatnewstoday.ca. The search for a new operator of Hidden Valley Ski Resort in Elkwater has officially started, according to Alberta Parks. The province-run ski hill will be transitioning to a private operator as part of a long-term lease agreement. Alberta Parks is now in the process of reviewing requests for qualifications. That closed last week, and they will be inviting formal proposal requests from finalists in the coming weeks. The province also confirms the private operator will take over running Hidden Valley by the start of the winter ski season this year. Hey, if you're the type of person that marks things on your calendar and you like to remember fun dates, mark September 25th on your calendar. That's the last chance you'll have to say goodbye to the Medicine Hat Arena. This weekend, New Rock Developments created a Facebook event for the arena send-off. The page says the event from 3 until 7 o'clock will be a walk down memory lane with exclusive t-shirts and food trucks there. Possibly most interesting to fans of Medicine Hat history, there will be the chance to take a piece of the old barn home with you. New Rock completed purchase of this property this past summer. The company plans to demolish this beautiful building to make way for a new condominium development. You'll get a first look at the plans for the new development as well during the farewell to the arena. Well, we're going to say farewell to you for just a couple minutes. Chat News at 5 continues following this commercial break here on Chat TV. Straight ahead, an Alberta man was in a gown at the hospital ready for surgery when he was told to go home. Frontline healthcare workers inside Canada's hospitals have put the well-being of Canadians ahead of their own throughout the pandemic. That being the case, it seems unfathomable that hospitals are now the target of protests. But that's what happened today right across our country. Coming up in about 15 minutes here on Chat News at 5, a look at who is behind the protests and what can be done to keep hospitals from becoming battle lines. Another Albertan has had his surgery postponed because of overwhelmed hospitals in our province. He was at the hospital in a gown and ready to go when he was told his case wasn't urgent enough. Here's Chris Chacon with his story.
75-year-old Ed Mason showed up bright and early at the University of Alberta Hospital Thursday for his scheduled surgery.
It was 5:40. He was checked in. He had blood work. He had pre-op vital signs. He was in his gown.
Mason then spent the next few hours preparing for his 10-hour skin graft surgery. The procedure would transplant skin tissue from his arms to his head. It would cover up bone that was exposed after cancer radiation treatment damaged the area, leaving it vulnerable to infection.
Anesthesiologist resident came in and said, everything looks great. We're going to see you in just half an hour kind of thing, or a few minutes.
But instead of getting started, Shauna Law says a different hospital staff member came in with some alarming news.
And said that there was no ICU bed available, and there was also no critical care bed for him to use if something went awry in his surgery. So therefore, his cancer surgery to rebuild this flap was cancelled.
Law says the surgeons tried to get Mason's procedure to go ahead, but that it wasn't deemed urgent enough.
Right then, he was just told to get dressed and go home.
Mason is now one of dozens of Albertans left waiting. In a statement to Global News, AHS apologizes to patients and families, saying that it does not take the decision to postpone surgeries lightly and that it will reschedule patients as soon as possible based on hospital occupancy.
This isn't just happening to individual families here and there and patients here and there. It's happening to many people across the province right now.
Rianne Booker says she expects things will get worse in the coming weeks and that families need to stand by their loved ones.
Many others are experiencing significant physical pain. The other piece of that, too, is a psychological impact.
Booker says if more Albertans don't get vaccinated and are not careful, it's likely hospital beds won't open up. As for Law, she says the family will continue to support their father and hopes his much-needed surgery will be rescheduled soon. Chris Chacon, Global News.
Chat Weather, brought to you by Design Flooring Center. With you every step of the way.
Chat Weather, powered by AccuWeather.
Well, hello, good to see you again. So great to be back. Really glad to be back. Nice to be back. So, Hope you enjoyed the beautiful weather that we had while I was away. Some really great stuff. A couple of days of rain, yes, but that's always necessary. I took a wealth of pictures, which you'll find at Dan Reynish on both Instagram and Twitter. Take a look. Let me know what you think. If you take any pictures, feel free to send them in. We'll talk more about that in a second. Today, seasonal average is what we achieved. Something after tomorrow we won't do for a couple of days because the temperatures are DROP dropping here on the prairies. So 20, 1959. 33 degrees. Sun is coming and going quicker and quicker each and every day. Still 20 out there right now, mostly cloudy. Clear up a little bit tonight. We will see the sky a little bit and might even be able to see the sunset, which, as you'll see in a moment, was beautiful last night. As we go around the province, 19 in Bow Island, Brooks, Drumheller, and Edmonton, 17 in Calgary, 21 in Lethbridge. Lots of sunshine out there. And in Saskatchewan, temperatures are going to drop as well in the next couple of days. 20 in both Regina and Saskatoon, a little bit more sun in Saskatoon than Regina. 19 mainly sunny in Leader, mainly sunny in Swift Current, and 18, same is true in Maple Creek as well. So with mainly sunny sky out there right now, not a lot of clouds to be seen, a few out there, but due to the temperatures that will drop, stick around for that extended forecast. We're looking at maybe some -1 mornings in the course of the next week. So frost is coming, and due to how chilly it's going to get, there will be some snow falling in the mountainous areas. So if you have any plans to head there for a late summer vacation, know that there is some snow to come. So the next 48 hours, well, we'll see things start to push through. Then the system starts to come in along with cold air falling, and with that precipitation there, the yellows, the greens into the mountains, that will cause the precipitation up there, the snow to fall. And yes, winter is coming, so it has to start eventually. We won't see the snow just yet, but we might see some frost, as I said, later in the week. As we get into your day planner for tomorrow, seasonal average right now is only 20 degrees. It's only 20. So we'll get to that, maybe beyond in some parts of our area tomorrow, but then that's the last time until we head into the weekend. So starting things off with 5 degrees, getting to 20 with some sunshine tomorrow in Leader, 5 getting up to 22. The day will start clear, get sunny, and then the clouds will kick in as the day goes on in Leader. As we head into Maple Creek, clear, partly sunny, then intermittent clouds, a little bit warmer in Maple Creek, 9 degrees, getting up to 22. Then here in Medicine Hat, 20 was where we got to today. 20 is the seasonal average. Like I said, we're going to get a little bit warmer than that before things start to cool off. So mainly clear tomorrow morning. Should be a great sunrise. Partly sunny as the day goes on, then lots of cloud. So we'll start off around 6. That might feel as chilly as 2 or 3 degrees and get up to 22 degrees. But then stick around for that 7-day forecast. And hopefully tonight and maybe later this week, we'll see some more beautiful sunsets. Kelvin Jones sent this one in. Kelvin, great picture. Thank you very much. This was the sunset at Gas City Campground last night. Kelvin, thank you very much for this weather picture, brought to you by Prestige Windows and Doors. Kelvin sent it into weatherpics@chatnewstoday.ca, and that's where you can send us your weather pictures as well. Whatever you photograph that is weather related, not because it's a cousin or anything, but because it has something to do with weather. Don't get to the family genes. Weatherpics@chatnewstoday.ca is where you can send your pictures, and we would love to see all of the pictures that you would like to send. Calvin, thanks again. You're watching Chat News at 5. Scarborough has sports, and I'll have national and international news for you when we come back here on Chat News at 5. Still to come, the goal is to keep in-person learning going at schools for as long as possible. But the Delta variant isn't making that easy. Good evening. Thank you very much for choosing Chat tonight. I'm Dan Reynish. Tensions were high today at some hospitals across the country due to planned protests against pandemic protocols like vaccine passports. Protests took place in Calgary and Edmonton this afternoon, but there was no protest scheduled or held in Medicine Hat. A group calling itself Canadian Frontline Nurses says it was going to be holding silent vigils in all 10 provinces today to honor those affected by restrictions in place over the past year and a half. Eric Sorensen looks at the group and what can be done to keep hospitals from becoming battle lines.
They have mounted protests outside hospitals across the country.
Say no
to the vaccine passport in Canada.
Among the organizers, a few health workers, including a nurse who was fired after being part of an anti-lockdown rally last year. They're protesting vaccine mandates, being forced, they say, to take drugs they don't want.
That's threatening, it's cajoling, it's bullying, it's tyranny, call it whatever you like. It's wrong.
Really basic human rights are being violated.
They're a fraction of the population, but even small numbers could choke off access to hospitals or intimidate workers and patients. One doctor, a lone sentinel outside a Toronto hospital today, stands behind the science and vaccines that are accepted by the vast majority of Canadians.
Behind us is sacred ground. This is a place where people come to get healed, where people are sick, and where professionals like myself and the nurses I work with deserve to be treated with respect and not intimidated or harassed.
He's not alone. Major health organizations for nurses and doctors are calling for safe zones to allow people into and out of hospitals safely.
What we really are hoping for is that those entryways, those exit ways are maintained, that the healthcare workers that are going in and out of hospitals are not harassed or abused, and ultimately that they can do their job in the middle of a pandemic in a meaningful way.
It is not the place to protest. It is wrong.
All the federal leaders condemned blocking access to health centers today.
These protests, this harassment of our frontline nurses, doctors, is completely unacceptable.
The Liberals say they'll pass legislation to make it a crime.
We are protecting people, including healthcare workers, from those who would scream obscenities at them and spit on them on their way into work to save lives.
This healthcare worker is blunt.
To bring this here, to bring this kind of vitriol where people have been working flat out and continue to go nonstop to help people, it's hard to understand the rationale.
The demonstrators have targeted what for most Canadians are cherished institutions that save lives. And if the protesters themselves get sick and need help, will save their lives too. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Let's stay with the federal election, where the parties campaigned across the country today. The NDP and Conservative leaders continue to criticize the Liberals for calling the election, while Justin Trudeau is promising to crack down on the anti-vaxxer protests, as you heard outside hospitals. Miranda Anthistle has more.
People that I hope will be to stand up.
The pressure is on as the federal leaders head into the final week of campaigning. In Northern Ontario, the New Democrats will be visiting the Niskandiga First Nation, which has the longest-lasting boil water advisory in Canada.
Countries rich as ours should not mean that there are so many communities, over 30 communities, that still don't have clean drinking water. Many communities that were on the list, taken off the list, went back on the list because it wasn't a sustainable solution. I just don't buy the excuses.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh saying the cost of living has increased under Liberal leadership.
Mr. Trudeau has broken his commitment and people are paying the price. And I want you to know, it doesn't have to be this way.
The Conservatives also have Liberal leader Justin Trudeau in their sights.
The only thing he and the Liberal Party prioritize is their own survival. More of the same spending and debt.
Tory leader Aaron O'Toole is in Canada, promising more support for new and expecting parents, like expanding the Canada Child Benefit. But all the leaders came together on a common issue, condemning the anti-vaxxer protests happening outside Canadian hospitals.
This harassment of our frontline nurses, doctors, is completely unacceptable. We all owe a huge debt of thanks to our front lines, to those nurses, to the folks in our hospitals.
Trudeau going one step further, saying he would make it a criminal offense to obstruct access to any building that provides healthcare services.
We're going to make it a criminal offense for anyone to threaten or intimidate any healthcare practitioner on their way into work, in the practice of their exercise of their duty, or a patient on their way to get medical services.
Trudeau was questioned if this legislation would even be necessary, given that uttering threats and assault are already illegal.
We are going to add specific threats against healthcare practitioners as requiring those protections. And it's unfortunate that we got there, but we think that these people deserve our highest level of protection.
Miranda Anthistle, Global News.
Students and teachers are just a week into the new school year, and dangerous outbreaks have already led to school closures in Prince Edward Island and Ontario. Plus, today, New Brunswick announced all students will be required to wear masks. The goal is to keep in-person learning going as long as possible. But as Heather Yorks West explains, the highly transmissible Delta variant isn't making it easy.
With COVID-19 cases now at 11 schools across the province, New Brunswick is changing its back-to-school plan.
Effective tomorrow, students of all ages in all schools across New Brunswick must wear a mask in school and while on school buses.
In Quebec, students in 72 schools will now be able to access rapid tests.
Those rapid tests are good, but they are complementary to regular tests, PCR regular tests. So if kids have some symptoms, we highly recommend parents to keep their kids at home.
The measure's designed to offer more layers of protection for students and their schools, especially as children under 12 remain ineligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. Children are less likely to become seriously ill from this virus, but some will. And in Alberta, where overall infection numbers are soaring, more kids are getting sick.
The numbers are rising. It used to be we would only see maybe 1 or 2 children presenting for emergency department care every week. And now we're seeing a handful of them almost every day.
With less support from the provincial government, Alberta school districts like the Calgary Board of Education are now doing things like contact tracing themselves. Though in a letter this week, parents were told that asymptomatic close contacts should keep coming to school. If you choose to keep your child at home, it will be marked as an unexcused absence.
It's really been contradictory in these statements of what we are wanting people to do, what we are asking them to do, and then how we're enforcing these provisions.
Creating confusion for parents in a dangerous time as the Delta variant continues to cause COVID-19 cases to rise. Heather Yorks West, Global News, Calgary.
Lethbridge police shot and killed a cougar over the weekend they say was prowling in a neighborhood. Jessica Robb has the details tonight, but first a warning. Some viewers may find the videos and photos in this story disturbing.
People living in the Uplands neighborhood had quite the scare on Saturday afternoon. Michelle Winniski and Kelsey and Andrew Watson were out taking part in the Recycle Rendezvous.
Drove down the alley, we just looked left and there it was, a big cat.
And not just any big cat, a cougar, estimated to be about 6 feet. Andrew Watson is a big game hunter, so he's no stranger to cougars in the wild. But in the city, that's a different story.
They're not an animal to mess with. They're a wild animal, right? Corner them, they'll take you out. It was pretty overwhelming, really. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes when I actually seen it.
The cougar jumped a fence and into a backyard. Neighbors were told by police to stay inside.
It was eye-to-eye contact, and it wasn't more than 10 feet from us. And we could tell right off the bat, it's no game, right?
They just heard a big bang, and everybody's like, "What the heck?" They came out of their yards, like, "What happened?" And then they're all shocked seeing a huge cougar in the middle of the alley.
With no immediate response from Alberta Fish and Wildlife, police euthanized the cougar, saying it caused an immediate threat, especially with kids in the area. A Fish and Wildlife officer then came to take the animal away. Winniski and Watson say the entire thing lasted about 15 minutes.
It was a little shocking to see. Did we see what we really think we saw? Did we really see that?
Alberta Fish and Wildlife told Global News that cougar sightings in the city are actually pretty rare. Typically, they get calls about cougars in surrounding areas and here in the River Valley. Now, officials do say that if you run into a cougar, do not run and do not turn your back. Instead, make yourself big and speak loudly. And for those involved, it's an incident they won't soon forget.
After you sit back and it's like, holy cow, that's crazy. Yeah. We really just saw what we saw.
Jessica Robb, Global News.
Scott Roblin's up next here on Chat News at 5 with all of today's sports news. Please stay with us.
Don't look now, but the Toronto Blue Jays are sitting in a wildcard spot after a wild weekend in Baltimore. More on their run next in sports.
Chat Sports, brought to you by the Landscape Depot. Quality landscape supplies. Get creative in your outdoor living space with the Landscape Depot.
Welcome back.
The Brooks Bandits are all warmed up, ready to make a run at another national championship this year, a path that officially begins later this week.
McAllister, right circle for TJ Hughes, over to Bookman, scores! And the preseason has come to an end. Zach Bookman.
Brooks wrapped up their fourth and final preseason game on Saturday night, suffering their lone regulation loss against the Okotoks Oilers 7-2, despite putting up 49 shots on goal. Now that their exhibition schedule is wrapped up, Brooks gets ready for their first regular season game on Friday nights against the expansion Blackfalds Bulldogs. The Heritage League season is quickly approaching for the Medicine Hat Cubs as well. The preseason just began over the weekend in a home-and-home set with the Lomond Lakers. Medicine Hat Snipers came out to play, recording identical 7-3 wins over the Lakers. The Cubs will get in one more exhibition game on Friday night in Redcliffe, battling their rivals from Coaldale, before they play their first regular season game in almost a calendar year the following night against the Lakers on the road. The Calgary Stampeders finally gave fans something to cheer for over the weekend, a convincing win over their Alberta rivals. After losing 4 of their first 5 games to start the season, the Stamps dismantled the Edmonton Elks 32-16 in their Labor Day rematch, with solid defensive effort taking center stage. Calgary only had 3 sacks all year entering the rematch, but rookie Stephen Banks and veteran Sean Lemon combined for 6. For the pair, that performance was the result of putting in the extra work and the impact former players have had on this defensive core.
I take pride in that because when I first came here, there was another defensive end that was older, Charleston Hughes. You know how many sacks that he has, and that's the Calgary Stampeder way. Like you bring guys along and you help guys grow, and I'm just excited for them.
We feel like we got something to prove every game, every day, every practice. You know, we just got that chip on our shoulders that make us want to be the best at this point of the season.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders, meanwhile, rolled out new details over the weekend regarding their vaccination policy for fans. The Riders will be requiring either proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test within 72 hours from fans ahead of their game on Friday night against the Toronto Argonauts. Those looking to catch a game at Mosaic Stadium are being advised to have a digital copy of their vaccination record or a negative test result prepared. Sherwood Park's Chuba Hubbard got to live out his childhood dream yesterday, finally strapping on the pads to make his NFL debut. Hubbard suited up for the Carolina Panthers in their Week 1 meeting against the New York Jets after being selected in the 4th round of this year's NFL draft. The 22-year-old running back didn't have any carries, but had 2 receptions for 4 yards in Carolina's 19-14 victory. And NFL Week 1 action continues tonight with the first Monday nighter of the NFL season, as the Las Vegas Raiders will play host to the Baltimore Ravens. It's actually going to be the first time fans will be able to watch games in Vegas because, of course, there were no fans in the building in the Raiders' first season in Sin City. It will be a 6:15 kickoff from Allegiant Stadium. After a year and a half away from Canada, the Toronto Raptors are preparing for their return to Scotiabank Arena. The first preseason game is only 3 weeks away, and fans are eager to welcome the Raps home. Eric Avella has more.
I'm feeling very good about it. I'm very excited about it.
Superfan Nav Bhatia isn't alone.
Super stoked. They're going to be back into the arena and can't wait.
Fans are rejoicing. Canada's beloved Raptors are coming home.
It's for the culture. I think the culture of Toronto needs them back. I think it's going to be good for the city. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
And the whole vibe of, seeing the players play and the whole connection that you have with the team, with the home team. And of course, Jurassic Park and all that madness which unfolds right here where we are standing right now.
The Raptors confirming the news, tweeting the preseason schedule with the words, "Soon, Toronto, soon."
You're going to see, you're going to feel it. It's going to be, the building is going to be shaking.
A statement from a spokesperson says they were granted permission by the federal government. It was a lengthy process that took many months. Still to be determined is how many fans will be able to attend, but we are optimistic regarding our ability to host full capacity events. MLSE has said effective September 22nd, all event attendees will be required to provide proof of vaccination. Proof of a negative COVID test will not be accepted except for guests with a verified medical exemption. Attendees are also required to wear a mask at all times.
With the double vax, I think that makes everyone feel a little better, I think.
I tell you, it's going to be a very, very exciting season.
Bhatia says with the Raptors coming home, they will have an edge over their competitors.
for them just to play in front of their own fans, because we are their biggest assets. Last 2 seasons, they haven't played in front of the fans.
And you can guarantee who will be there for each home game.
I'm going to be in the arena where I'm supposed to be and where I love to be.
Just down the street, the Toronto Blue Jays are coming off a historic set against the Baltimore Orioles. Toronto scored a blistering 44 runs over their last 3 games versus Baltimore, with half of those coming in Sunday's series finale. Winning 14 of their last 16 games, the Blue Jays have rocketed up the American League standings and now sit in the wild card picture with the Boston Red Sox. Toronto opens a series with the AL East leading Tampa Bay Rays tonight. And a big congrats to a handful of members with the Medicine Hat Minor Softball Association. Rebecca Jacku, Cindy Cotton, and Megan Taylor have been recognized as recipients of Softball Alberta's Zone 1 Provincial Merit Award. The trio helped Medicine Hat Softball play through the pandemic and host U14 and U19 provincials. Medicine Hat Softball's first ever Thunder Awards were also announced, with U19B shortstop Maddie King earning the prestigious Thunder Excellence in Sportsmanship and Character Award.
Congrats to them all. Well done. Good to be with you on set again, Scott.
Yes, it's great. It's great to be back.
We'll be right back. You're watching Chat News at 5. Here's a recap of today's top stories. Students and staff at Medicine Hat College will need to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and will be required to show proof of their vaccine status starting next year. The college is one of 9 Alberta post-secondary institutions that announced enhanced public health safety measures today. President and CEO Kevin Shufflebotham says the decision was not made lightly, and they're grateful for the support of the post-secondary community as we work together to provide the safest possible environment for students and employees. The college says the move to mandatory vaccination is supported by local healthcare professionals. Transparency has been a commonly used word amongst municipal election candidates this summer. Transparency refers to how open the government has been to conveying information to the public. It's been so talked about, many running in the election have it as part of their main platform. Mayoral candidate Lindsay Clark and newcomer candidate Marco Jansen are just 2 of a few new candidates who have been criticizing the number of closed-door meetings held by the city. Mayor Ted Clugston has defended the number of closed-door meetings, saying there are reasons why items can't be made public. If you'd like more on these and other stories, please visit our website. Just head to chatnewstoday.ca. Warming is a challenge for warm-blooded animals who need to make sure they don't overheat. And a new study finds many animals are morphing in order to cope with climate change. Charmaine Somani has this story.
When it's scorching hot outside, a lot of us prefer to cool off inside our homes with our air conditioning, a privilege not everyone has.
Particularly affecting birds and mammals.
Associate Professor Matthew Simons is one of the authors of a study that looks at how climate change is affecting warm-blooded animals. His team looked at how they've morphed over the last 50 to 70 years.
Where they are getting longer appendages, so things like legs, but also tails in the case of mammals, and ears and wings and beaks in the case of birds.
Simon says this is because they're changing their shape to cool off and keep up with what the authors call climate warming.
As warm-blooded animals, you need to maintain a specific body temperature. If you've got larger appendages, that gives you more surface area over which to dissipate the heat.
A concept that's well known in ecology called Allen's rule, where animals who live in warmer climates have bigger appendages and limbs. But add global warming to the mix and some animals may start morphing.
We see it over such a diverse range of animals. We think this is a genuine signal of adaptation to global warming.
Professor Virginie Millia studies animal evolution and behavior and says morphing is one of the ways animals cope with heat.
We're seeing accelerated warming. If you mess up all the climate, the temperature, if you change all that, they have to cope with that. They need to maintain that temperature and be able to thermoregulate.
Millia says not all animals morph to cope with heat.
There's some species that are really good at living, surviving, invading new environments. Others don't. Others just go extinct. They can also shift their range, migrating new areas where the environment is better suited.
Both feel more research is needed in this area to figure out if animals are evolving fast enough to keep up with global warming, morphing back to their old shape, and which animals are most at risk. But the bigger concern here is how fast the Earth is heating up, according to them. Charmaine Samani, Global News.
We're back tomorrow at noon and 5. A quick 7-day before we go. Tomorrow warm like today, then things start to get cold. Thursday into Friday, we could be as chilly overnight as -1. I'm Dan Reynish. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.